For the NUX B8 Wireless guitar tuner system. But yes, basically it is a wireless guitar transmitter receiver. The receiver, on the other hand, is actually a tuner pedal, which can actually go direct as well. So let's talk about some stats, price, comparables. What does this thing actually sound like? Is this something that you may be interested in? It transmits at 24-bit, 48,000 hertz. That's the signal. So yes, it is digital technically or obviously, but it's engineered for live use, so that makes sense. That in mind, it operates on a 2.4 Bluetooth-like frequency, which means in a line of sight, you can play indoors up to 100 to 200 feet. Outdoors, it goes 65 to 165 feet. So the pedal itself also features a volume boost of 12 decibels. So not only are you getting a wireless guitar transmitter system and a multifunctional tuner, but you're also getting a booster pedal. That's pretty cool. Now, when does that come into handy? Maybe a question a lot of people have. And let's just say you may not necessarily need it for your electric, but I noticed when I was playing my acoustic electric signal was kind of weak, so that 12 decibel of boost is pretty helpful. Now, the tuner itself actually features a 3-way tuning system. You can also use it for bass guitars, but as far as your standard tuning, it has standard tuning, it has chromatic tuning, and it also has compensated tuning. If you're unfamiliar with compensated tuning, it's basically slightly tuning the strings down to a certain scent that was made popular in the 70s and 80s by the acoustic player James Taylor, who wanted to have the most harmonic chords when he was strumming, so it does that as well. So that I found was pretty cool and useful. Now, as far as the latency when you're actually playing, kind of like if you're going through an audio interface and you're listening to the playback through the mix, etc., it's just 2.5 milliseconds, which to me was pretty much unnoticeable. However, you can also adjust the latency on the screen by going up or down, which will stabilize it depending what is in your environment or atmosphere when you are playing live. You can purchase a system right off Amazon.com. Check out my affiliate links. No, I don't work for NUX or anybody but myself, but I do get a small commission from if you click my link, and it costs the same thing on Amazon. If you don't want to use Amazon, you got Guitar Center, Sweetwater, ZZ Sounds, Musicians Friends, B&W, pretty much everybody else. Now, can you get this used? It's only been out there a year, so there's not going to be a ton of used equipment. But I did look at reverb.com, and yes, there's a system on there right now. It was down to 185, and I think the next one was 200. Reverb.com, if you're not familiar with them, they do have a 7-day return in case it gets dropped in the mail and damaged. I didn't hear any difference when I was playing it, so if there are differences, I would say it's negligible. And considering it's not going to be any different than what you hear back through your digital audio workstation, your DAW, well, you have that as well. The transmitting is TX, and the RX would be the receiving, and it will tell you the level. It's a very simple interface to use. And what I found very interesting, aside from all the fact that it has a boost and 3 levels of tuners, you can actually add pictures. You can go to your home screen. You could change your, I believe you can change your display, like right there. So. So looking at the display screen up here, you have this one here, the display, which you can click on, home display, you have brightness. Let's go ahead and turn that down halfways, and then we have boot up picture. There's the default, there's the user, but then you, I think, have to upload, whoops, go back. You would have to upload your picture over here through the USB-C found on the back right there. All right, and then we have the TX RX. That's just going to be the send and receive. The latency, as you can see here, enter to confirm. Let's say you want to go up to that. It's transmitting is complete. Or for that matter, you could go ultra low latency too, complete. So there you are. Now going over to the tuner, tuning display, you have 3 different tuners. I like this tuner, there's that one, and there's that one, but let me show you something else with this. And then there's bypass mode, of course. Going back, going back. So let's go back one more time. When I said about this button here, this is going to bring you into the tuner. So receive and tuning, it's telling you how much. And then cable tone boost as well and mute. But click on this, G, CPS. Okay, so what you do there then is you just hit that button down. It's on, it's off, now it goes to that one, and it goes like rotating. So it's back there. Now you would turn this, bass, chromatic, guitar standard. That's mainly what most people are going to use is guitar standard. And then compensated, back to bass, chromatic. And then I would leave it on that. And then when you're there, you just hit that button. And then hit the button to go back to the home screen so you know where you're at with all that. Going back to the home screen again, we have the switch. So we have the tuner and the boost. So if you wanted to go boost, you would just click that like that. So let's say now we go back one more time. If I were to hit this, now your boost is off. Now the boost is on. It's very simple. Let's go back one more time. Whoops. By hitting this button. Whoopsies. Okay, so yeah, it takes a minute to remember, but it's fairly simple. Now we're back on the tuner mode. Going back. Output, how loud do you want? Click on that again. So as you can see, you can go all the way down. You can go all the way up. It's not rocket science as most people say. I would just leave it at the top. Go back, and then the boost itself. Now you were going to set it here. It's on, or you could set it off. 0 decibels. Middle, I would guess 6 decibels. 12 if you want the big thing. Maybe 6 would be nice. And then go back if you would like. But one more time, let's go down. Let's see here if I could. Well, it's on and off. That would be. There you go. So that's how you do that. So it's very self-explanatory, really. It's not hard to understand. If you want help with the boot picture, and then we have language as well, English, Espanol, and I believe that's Chinese and maybe Japanese. I don't know about that part. Anyway, getting back to what I'm saying here. Back to the display. Whoops. To the beginning here. Okay, so now that we got that, as I showed the USB-C, and like I said, the on and the off switch, then you'd hold that in. And like Flynn, simple, simple. And right there, we would attach it to there. There's the band that holds onto that, so it would look like that. Anyway, let's look at the back real quickly. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So first, starting with the side, you can always go direct. So this cable would go out. If you wanted to go full wirelessly, bear with me here. Let's pop this out. Now, I don't have another NUX system. I have these from X5, but you could also do this if you wanted. This will be a transmitter, and you could go into this like that if you wanted, because I already had this. And then you could take your other one. And NUX sells their own of these. So let me pull this up a hair just to show you what I mean. Is then you would take this one over here and pop it in like that. And yes, even though this is a 5.8, it's still going from here to here. So you could do this with NUX as well. They're both decent companies if you ask me. I'm not throwing shade on either. I like both companies. Or like I said, you can just go cable to cable. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's move this out of the way. So looking at this again, you can also send it through as it says in the manual, which you do get a manual, which is really nice. Let's go down a little closer to that for a moment here. So moving this for a second, in the manual, if you were to pop out the manual here, the NUX system, let's go right to the middle, and you get diagrams. And these diagrams are important if you're confused and you're new to this type of stuff, right there. So, connections, how you can use each, meaning from that side there to go into your amplifier, like I did here with the Boss. To give you an idea what I mean, is that this would go into here, like so, into here. So, from there to here, it's pretty simple, and as you can literally see in the manual, that's exactly what you would do. Now, another thing you could do with this, let me back this up. Well, let me go like this. You could go back and return it through other pedals if you wanted. It points exactly. How it does that is that the second one there, which is right here, so this second one here would go to another pedal. So, and it will be chained like this. Now this one here would instead be going back into here. So then you end up with a situation that, well, normally would fit, but the cables are a little bit big in my situation. We have some issues with the way I'm using these cables. So then basically what you can do too is then when you run this cable out into the input and then the output over here goes back into the return, as you can see where it says output send, output return, which is arguably what they do in the manual when they talk about that. And then obviously you would take one more cable and the final cable would come out here, output return. Now you can also go direct in. Let me turn that for everybody. You can go directly in, just cable if it quits working, but output return right there. Okay, so take this thing off here. The interesting thing I really want to show you that I really like about this pedal and this whole little setup we got going here is the fact that it features this. This is an XLR output, obviously as a lift and ground on the USB-C B8, and this you can put the rubber thing on. But let's talk about this. So this makes this whole unit here a mini mixer, you know, an XLR cable, and then you would put it back into here. So let's do that, right? That on the screen properly is you take your female, pop that in there. See that? Now take this cable here, set this back down. I know it's getting a little crazy out here, isn't it? Okay. So then take this cable, and you see this over here. We're going to pop this cable out, and we're going to go like this. I better save my recording in case it shuts off. Now I'm just using the microphone here, but we would take that cable and go right in here. And there you go. So now we're going from basically the guitar is gonna, this will plug into the guitar here. This will plug into the guitar here. This would send. This would receive here. And then we're also gonna send from here to this pedal here. And then this pedal will go from the output back into the unit and then come out through the XLR up here, like I said. And then this will go over here to the audio interface. So we can do several things. That means this is like a mixer in and of itself. It's like its own little interface hub, which is why I love this piece of equipment, because I love connecting things. But what I'm getting at essentially is that if I'm playing live and I want a really good recording of whatever I'm playing, of course, even if I'm using my Fender or whatever, my Boss in this situation, right? As the manual here points out in rather easy 5th grade language, at least if you ask me, is I can make a recording over here onto a PC. I don't know if you could see all that, but like one more way to look at the situation then is then sending this as your live system up here, even though it's battery and plug-in operated. But you can kind of see, to run through the rig one more time, is you can record through the XLR real simply on a laptop. Somebody can do that. And you could even go XLR wireless if you wanted. So for example, again, this is a different piece of technology. This one's by X5. But I could do the same thing. I could send this system here, if I really, really wanted, I could send it wirelessly like this, and bam. Now you need 2 of these, and I think NUX also has systems like this where you can send, because you could do this with, like I said, you could do it with wireless guitar things, but you could send this over to here.